Hello, fight fans. Hello, UFC fans. Hello, Beefy Boys fans. Beefy Boys subscribers. If you're not already subscribed, we have a YouTube channel. It really helps us out if everybody would go subscribe. We have a Twitter at Beefy Breakdown. Follow me on Instagram at Dreadful Talk Dom. Now, I'm excited for this week's episode. There were fights on Saturday. Coming with you with a Monday edition of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. Let's get my partner Harrison on here.
Yo, what's up?
What up, bro, man? Episode 84 of the breakdown here, man. And there were some fights on Saturday. Some of which were very relevant and important, some of which not so much. But
I just
we're gonna get
struggled
to
with this
them all.
card. We'll definitely get to it because I know me and you have already talked a little bit about it. But man, next week, kind of the same situation where there's
A
three or four
little bit
fights.
better. Yeah.
Yes. Because next week has probably 3 or 4 fights I care about. This week literally had 2, I think.
Yeah, man. And the main event next week is pretty interesting too. Like, I don't know, Andrade
Yeah.
versus Lemos. Like, I mean, I think Andrade is still really good. I mean, she's had a couple of losses to the go. I mean, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like,
Well, and I like to see if Limosh can break across that threshold and maybe become a real challenger. I think
yeah, I mean,
it's a good spot for the UFC to be in with those two fighting each other, to be quite honest.
no, for sure, man. And then, as always, we're going to start it off with the prelims, and of course, we're going over UFC Fight Night, Muhammad versus Luque, and that fight I thought was very important.
Let me mute this. Oh, I'm sorry. My computer just started playing sound. Mute turned off.
You're good, man. But yeah, Muhammad versus Luque, especially with we did a whole welterweight kind of breakdown last week,
And they're super important to it, man.
they're very relevant to the picture, exactly. And there's some interesting arguments to be made. I can't wait to kind of hear your big overall takeaways. But, before we get to that, we got to get to these prelims. And, jerking the curtain here, we got Alatang Ali minus 180 favorite over Kevin Kroom plus 155. This fight taking place in the bantamweight division. And I think this is a good example of just the kind of meh kind of matchups that like kind of littered this card and didn't necessarily get the juices flowing. But that being said, I will tell you, he has an exciting style and he had a fantastic performance. 0 knock against him. It's just I think he's coming off of 2 losses and but his 1 win was really impressive and got a bonus. So I think when it comes to Alatang Haley, it's kind of hard to really gauge how to feel about him because it kind of seems like it's all or nothing. Like it kind of seems like it's fantastic bonus worthy performances. Didn't get a bonus in this one, but easily could have, and or not. We haven't really seen kind of like a steady performance. It's been a little up and down for Alatang Haley.
So honestly, this is going to be a weird comparison, but he reminds me of Sumu Darji. And I know it's a weird comparison because obviously different weights there. Not too far off, I don't guess, but also they're from the exact same region of the world, which makes it seem like I'm just almost being racist about it. But it has to do with their fight style, right? Like they just fight all foot on the gas. If they get caught or get dogged or they have an opponent with a counter style that doesn't fit them well, they can't be good. But if the dude is down to like just stand up and strike for a little bit, same with Mudarji and Alatang Ali, they just will throw bombs till they can't.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely some similarities in their style, and maybe that is come from the region. I'm not from there. I wouldn't know, but it does seem to kind of breed a certain kind of just one-dimensional but yet very aggressive style of fighting, which
aggressive. That's the right word for it.
Like can work or can not work, and we've seen both. And last night was a prime example of it working. I mean, this fight was all Alatang Ali. I haven't really mentioned Kevin Kroom's name. Because he didn't really give us a reason to.
Yeah. Did he land a single strike? I don't know.
I really don't think so. And sometimes these strikes or these stats, they'll come out and he landed a couple. But eye test wise, I mean, for all intents and purposes, no. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, they gave him 1 body strike and 1 leg kick.
Exactly. So I mean, this fight lasted 47 seconds, and about 99.9% of that was all Alatang Haley. I mean, he finished him off with like an 8-piece combo, 9-piece combo.
Yeah.
Kroom, it was a standing TKO, but I mean, in no sense of the words, an early stoppage, right? I mean,
no.
Like, I mean, there was zero intelligent defense. I mean, he turned his head into a speed bag, which So all credit in the world to Alatay Ali. I mean, it was like a flawless victory in Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's not really
Yeah.
it's not none of the negative or not even negative, just kind of mediocre vibes I have towards Alatay Ali have anything to do with his performance last night. If anything, last night was a dauber-up performance, but it's just what he showed us in the past, and it's just one of those guys that's a little high to get super excited about or throw coal in the hype train for. It kind of seems like the ceiling is going to be relatively middle of the road. But on one of these guys that's obviously capable of turning in outstanding, super exciting, finishing performances, which he did last night. And I said, I'm not trying to take away from that or do glass half empty. Like I said, last night he deserves nothing but praise and respect. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just tough, right? Because this point will never get dropped until it's not true. Bantamweight division, man, you got to have it all. You can't. I mean, having power is cool because you can beat anyone. Like I think power is probably the ultimate tool in almost every division for the most part, especially at heavyweight. That's the one division where, like, if you just have power, you can Derek Lewis, you can still win.
Yeah, career.
But for Alatang Ali, it's like, what does that mean for him at bantamweight? Like, yes, he has crazy power and can put anyone's lights out, but he's not the full package. So it's almost like he's going to be a fun fight for guys for the most part, or a tough test for certain young guys, but he's never going to be a top 15, probably not even a top 20. I don't think he gets that close, at least at bantamweight.
I agree with you, man. And like I said, a lot of it has to do with how stacked bantamweight is. A little bit of it has to do with his kind of somewhat one-dimensional style, but regardless, at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, the competition's stiff, and I think he falls kind of lower middle end, if we're just being completely honest, which is tough to say about a guy after he puts on like essentially a perfect performance. And also kind of, jerking the curtain against Kevin Kroom, it's
on a 14-fight card as well. We need to preface that.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're not trying to, we hats off to him. Great performance. It's just, in the micro, it's totally, praise and good job, pat on the back. But in the macro, like I said, just a little bit hard to get too excited. And on that note, let's keep it pushing here. We got Sam Hughes versus Estella Nunez. Money line would look like Sam Hughes plus 180, Nunez minus 220 in the women's strawweight division. And I got to say, man, with the round one, it looked like Sam Hughes was in for a long night. I mean, Nunez
like a terrible day. Yeah.
Fire. Yeah. It looked like it was going to be a bad matchup. All Nunez in one.
Yeah, I was asking myself how I forgot Estella Nunez's name after seeing her strike, because I was like, this girl throws hard down the middle, like means to hurt you when she strikes you. I enjoyed the fighting. Right. And then, on the counterpoint of that too, I thought to myself that, not Heidi Androl, the other girl that does she's married to the fighter, right? Joseph Benavidez is her husband.
Megan O'Leary.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So she was doing the little walkout, in the prelims, talking about the fighters, and she said that one thing she noticed about Sam Hughes this week versus all the rest, because now she's at Fortis. Shout out to Fortis, a couple people down there. Is that she was super happy, seemed like a different girl this whole fight week, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see something different. And she just got pieced up round one, and I was like, well, maybe being happy doesn't have shit to do with fighting. But, she got into it in her post-fight interview and such about, it was almost honestly a game plan. I guess she had watched the tape and knew that Nunez was going to come out and have this round one. So, I definitely scored round one to Nunez. There's no question. I don't think anyone on earth could score it to Hughes. And I honestly was at the point where I think the live odds from Vegas were minus 1,100 for Nunez to start the second round. And it was like, man, like this could be really bad. But then Hughes, about 2 minutes in the second round, that's the whole turning point of the fight.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, man. Yeah, if you watch the first round in a vacuum, you'd be like, oh, Nunez probably gets the finish in two. Like, it was looking like a one-sided, non-competitive type fight. But like you said, game plan, slow start, whatever you want to call it. Round two, exactly like you said, Hughes was able to kind of turn it around. I think a lot of it did have to do with Nunez kind of blowing her load, kind of gassing out a little bit.
Had to be, right? Like it had to be.
And Hughes, I got to say, even in round one that Hughes clearly lost, she was still moving forward. And she was still pressuring, and she was still making Nunez work for sure. And then, like I said, in round two, that started to pay dividends, exactly like you said, about halfway through the round. The pressure, the volume. She ended up getting a takedown, ended up getting some ground and pound on the ground. And then when you saw Nunez on the back, she went from being like, looking like a world beater to looking, kind of inept, just kind of, she had
like
zero.
extremely inept.
Deficient, just like, because they say you don't necessarily have to be Damian Maya, from your back, but you should, there needs to be effort put forward to scramble, get to the feet, do a walk, feet on hips, like some type of sweep. I mean, literally anything, and she gave us literally nothing from her back. Now, like I said, on the feet, great skill set. From the back, I mean, it looked like a white belt. It just looked like completely deficient from the back.
The only way it could have been worse is if she had just gone closed guard completely and like locked herself into that position from the bottom. But I don't think she was proficient enough to even do that, which is weird to say.
She might have been better off because she was like she wasn't advancing her own position, and then because she wasn't locking her down and kind of securing the posture, she was still taking ground and pound damage. So it was literally like worst of both worlds.
It's a good point. It's a really good point, actually. It's a really good point.
Like worst of both worlds. So we have it all tied up, 19-19 going into the third. And then the third round is where the gap widens. As uncompetitive as round one was, round three was probably even more so lopsided in the other direction, which you don't always get to see in a 3-round fight, the complete pendulum swing.
I do want to ask you just real quick about round two before we get on from it.
Oh, yeah.
One point that will bridge into round three is you noticed that Hughes got the takedown toward the end of the second round and got the crucifix position and started just like landing punches. And I was like, Nunez accepted that position and literally wasn't even defending, was just like, you can't punch me hard enough here before this round ends.
Yeah,
which I think is
terrible
visual, though, that you're not just like squirming trying to at least fight out of that. Because that's one of the worst positions you could possibly be in on the ground.
I think you could say saved by Bell. I think that's
for sure.
Say. But what, 15 more seconds of that, or
right?
Those shots were not the most damaging, but they were unanswered and they weren't being defended. So it only takes it's a numbers game.
Right. Exactly right. Like you have to present a reasonable self-defense in the cage at all times. Like that's the ref's expectation of you. So going from there, I'm like 19-19, but Hughes is ahead big time. If Nunez doesn't find some sort of gas, this is my mentality going into round three, she's just going to be done for. Well, the gas she finds is poking Hughes in the eye, which is not good for her because the entire fight she kept putting her hands out or swiping at the face, which shout out to Mark Smith because he actually stops the fight, takes the point from Nunez. She's like visibly protesting in the center of the octagon, and it's like, you've poked her twice in the eye, and you continue to do this throughout his warnings. Like, this is what has to happen. You have to make it where fighters understand an eye poke will cost them a point.
Yes. Yeah, no, I completely agree. Mark Smith handled it great. I didn't have any problem with it as a fan or, anything. And then also, unfortunately, yet another reason why this card is probably going to go down as one of our not favorite cards is this would be foreshadowing for the rest of the night. The refs were involved to super important levels of degrees. I mean,
can't wait for the Barnett fight. Can't wait for the Barnett fight.
All night long. This was just going to be a theme, point deductions, technical decisions. I mean, that's just a theme of this card.
Technical decision. We've never seen that in 2 years as a podcast.
For days. I mean, we got 2-on-1 card, and this easily, was kind of heading down that road. But yeah, with the point. All right, so yes, you set it up. You painted the picture. Round three with the point deduction. I give it 10-8 Hughes. Yeah, it would have been 10-9. I'm not saying she performed 10-8.
Yes.
10-9 minus 1 equals 10-8. Actual MMA math there. And then, but yeah, I mean, Hughes got a takedown. She got a control. She got ground and pound. And then really after the point deduction was really just kind of mentally, Nunez was done. She threw it like, I don't know. You could
tell. She laid on her back and just let it happen, which sounds terrible.
Yeah. Body language was horrible in round three from Nunez. I mean, Hughes pretty much did what she needed to do. And so my scorecard looked like 29-27. Two judges agreed with that. Did you have 29-27 as well?
I did, yeah. Now, unfortunately, this is not a unanimous decision. It's actually a majority decision because some judge gave round two to Estella Nunez. How?
You know what? In the first half of the round, Nunez looked like pretty good, but then I think Hughes did enough in the second half of that round easily. Like, it wasn't even really a debate on my scorecard, but just playing devil's advocate here.
Wait till I tell you the name of the judge that scored it that way.
Who? Chris Lee?
Adelaide Bird, the other one.
The other one. Okay, yeah.
It's literally those two that always fuck up cards, I swear. Which
yeah.
sucks to say, like, but why is it two people that get to control the outcomes for these fighters' lives?
In just like literally any other job, you've had jobs, I've had jobs. If you keep making the same mistake like over and over again, like
Yeah, they don't put up with that.
yeah. I mean, it's weird that like this high a level, like who do they have nudes of? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
whose nephew is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why? Why do they just keep getting the opportunity to screw up? I mean, this one, like I said, not egregious. The right girl ends up winning. Sam Hughes gets the majority decision. Scorecards look kind of weird but at the end of the day, Hughes won that fight, and she won the fight. She won the fight in the octagon. She won the fight on the scorecards. You know, not too many hills to die on there, but yeah, some squirrely scorecards. So majority decision is always a little weird, but the right girl won. And like I said, Nunez about as good as anybody in the division on her feet, but this is mixed martial arts. You know, maybe she needs to go to Muay Thai kickboxing. I'm not sure, but like.
She'd be a sweet Muay Thai fighter. She'd be a sweet Muay Thai fighter.
The grappling, I mean, just the defensive grappling, I mean, and the offensive grappling, just non-existent at all. Like, as one-dimensional as it gets for Estella Nunez, right? I mean,
like, she didn't really seem to know what she was doing on the ground. And if we're saying that and you're in the UFC, you probably should not be in the UFC.
Yeah, it's too late, right?
Right.
You're not a heavyweight, yeah.
Or even a 205er. Some of the 205ers can get away with it. I mean, hell, we'll get to William Knight and oh my God, that fight. I can't wait till we get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, Sam Hughes gets the win, plus 180 underdog. So it's, good value there. Anybody smart enough to call that out? Unfortunately, I was not included on that list of people, but
nor was I.
But yeah, Sam Hughes, I think she showed that she's a mixed martial artist. You know, like she was probably not the better athlete. She was probably, she was a little bit shorter, but her well-rounded skill set got her the win. You know, which is what this game's all about, really.
Exactly right.
And yeah,
I mean,
we can
with that, it's unfortunate, but this is one of the overarching themes of this card is there's not a lot of implication in any of these fights as it currently stands. Because this is a lot of people that are either middle back end of the road vets or young people that really didn't show out to a level where we're going to talk about them that way.
Exactly. No, Sam Hughes hasn't really showed me that she can do anything, but she also hasn't showed me enough to just kind of make my give a shit meter start to jump up and down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Good on her. She could go on to have a great career. Like I said, she hasn't showed me anything negative really, or that she can't do it. But definitely falls into the category of need to see a lot more, before I
100%. And with that, I guess we keep it pushing because that only makes sense. So we go to the lightweight division next for a guy making his debut, Trey Ogden, minus 140. I think he's 36 or something like that, 34. He's been fighting for a long time, regional circuit guy, apparently super tough. They're having him fight Jordan Levitt, who's plus 120. Jordan Levitt's interesting to me, man, because he has 3 fights in the UFC coming into this. He has one of 3 inverted triangle submissions. And then he has one of 12 slam KOs. So he gets finished, and he's 2-1 in the UFC and has lost his other one by, I believe, a decision that was not close, and he got dominated. Yeah. Right? So, and he's a weird dude. We should put that out there, too.
Yeah, man.
He's so weird that I would be, if I saw him in a bar, being himself, I'd probably be like, you guys see that guy? That guy's weird.
Or probably wouldn't even be in a bar, right? Just seems like they're, just not that kind of, I don't know.
Or, he would be the guy twerking in the club instead of the girls, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we'll get to this, because there's a whole conversation to be had there, and we'll get to that. Focus a little nugget on Trey Ogden. I don't watch every Dana White looking for a fight, but I actually did watch the episode that Ogden was on, and it was interesting because when Dana White, you don't see too many guys getting 34-year-old guys getting contracts on Dana White's looking for a fight. Technically, the whole point of the show is
younger guys.
Literally the whole reason the show exists. But if you're not familiar with the show, Dana White and Matt Serra and Dean Thomas, they go to local LFAs, King of the Cage, these smaller promotions, and sell in-person scout, some talents of some young next generation guys. And Dana White was actually honest with him. He's like, man, I usually don't sign guys your age. I like what you showed me. I'm going to give, and I think it was his birthday actually on the show the night that he fight and got the contract. He was like, happy
damn.
birthday, man. So I don't know if it was a little bit of emotions. Maybe Dan had a couple whiskeys in him, a couple of Hallerheads in him.
Couple Hallerheads, little banana flavor.
Yeah, he was feeling it. He said happy birthday. He gave him the contract. It was kind of a feel good, thing. But you're right, kind of weird to give a guy that age. It's not like he's like a world beater, but he is tested, proven. And then I think a good matchup, not the most exciting or get you out of your chair matchup, but as far as what you alluded to a second ago of us not really knowing what the fuck to think about Jordan Levitt, even talking inside the octagon, much less outside the octagon, and matching him up with a vet like Ogden. It's weird to say vet and debut in the same sentence, but still, that's the case.
Weird.
I think it's a good matchup to kind of see what we have with Levitt, right? The kind of like a temperature gauge on Levitt.
You know what, man? This is I thought about this fight a lot since I watched it because it's something that stood out to me on this card was this is a pure win-win for the UFC here. If Ogden wins, they get a young dude that was looking for a fight, I should say, that's actually an old vet that has a good fight history underneath his belt that could be, someone that could give a little bit of waves in the 155 division, or they get Jordan Levitt to win, maybe in fantastic fashion because his other two wins aren't in fantastic fashion. And then this guy is so weird that they can market him. They really can.
There's a lane. There is a group of people.
I can see it. I could you could hear DC and DC laughing so damn hard at the end of the fight about Jordan Levitt's physical actions. And whenever he celebrates, he's a hilarious dude. Okay, he doesn't even mean to be, I don't think.
That's where we need to get to. And it's actually probably going to be a funner podcast listen than the actual X's and O's. So let's get these X's. But the X's and O's are very important.
What's a split? Yeah, that's the craziest thing about this fight. So we cannot skip through it.
A little bit of time on this fight, which I didn't envision, but there's things to be said about it. And without further ado, Ogden making the debut at minus 140. So I think it kind of goes to show about his veteran status, his battle-tested status. Jordan Levitt plus 120. I think Vegas felt similar to us. What even do we got here? Fight took place in the lightweight division. Round one, I thought was actually the closest and hardest to score of the fight. I gave it 10-9 Ogden. He almost subbed Levitt with the guillotine. Pretty much, in my opinion, won the striking. When you're saying, he almost subbed him and he won the striking, how is it a close round? Well, luck or no luck, you don't factor it into the scorecard. Ogden slipped. Levitt got on top and pretty much kept him there and it had a lot of control time. So it's rare that you get a lot of control time without a takedown. That's what we got here. That being said, I didn't factor in the slip, but I think Ogden did more damage and just got closer to finishing the fight. I had it around 110-9 Ogden, but because of the weird slip, it made it weird to score.
Man, so I'm I can tell I'm in a staunch minority when it comes to how I score this fight, especially looking at judges' scorecards. Now hearing you talk about how you scored it. I actually had the first round to Levitt, but I don't think any of my rounds are going to match up with anyone, so I might have just been completely off in this fight. And I think it speaks to Levitt's style, right? Because he's so weird, man. He does not want to strike. His leg kicks were crazy.
They were really good.
He would check,
that's a sign of life in the striking.
For sure, and he would check the hell out of Ogden's kicks as well. Yeah, and so I was almost giving him offense by defense in that situation because when you check a kick, that hurts the kicker more than it does the checker.
Ogden kind of had a leg kick, kind of based game plan, and it kind of blew up that game plan.
Literally in the first minute and a half, blew it up to where Ogden was like, "Oh, what am I going to do?"
Yeah, no, I feel you. A nuanced thing, but I also think a very relevant thing, and I'm glad you brought it up. So no, I'm not even going to knock that point at all. But it will be interesting to see how our scorecards align, and then juxtapose that with the judges' scorecards.
Yeah.
Did you go 10-9? Did you give it to Levitt?
I did, yeah, for the control, and then I thought the damage wasn't overwhelming by Ogden, but the control was overwhelming by Levitt. Now, granted, it's a slip, but it's a fight, and he took advantage of a negative situation for one person and made it a positive outcome for himself. So,
the art of war 101. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel you. It's hard to hold that against Levitt. It's just
to your point. I thought that was the hardest round to score, far and away. I really thought round one was.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's fair. For sure. And then round two, keeping it pushing here. We just kind of talked about Levitt's leg kicks. And And that's, to me, what won him the round. No, I got to say, Trey Ogden showed really good takedown defense, especially against the grappler. You think his path to victory was on the feet. He was able to keep it on the feet. And then
it seemed like Levitt almost didn't want to go to the ground once he realized he got stuffed a few times. And once he felt Ogden on the ground that first round, it seemed like he wasn't so keen to go back to it in the second round, which surprised me.
Yeah, for sure. And the leg kicks were just working great. You know, maybe it was
true. That's a great point.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Especially a guy like Levitt hasn't had a lot of success on his feet. I think him getting octagon time, having success on his feet, whether it was intentional or a byproduct or whatever, I think, you know, it's definitely a good sign. I bet his coaches were stoked on it. Yeah, so round 2, I scored at 10-9 Levitt. There was the weird kind of clash of heads, not the most impactful clash of heads, but enough to make the ref kind of step in, check each guy, make sure everything was good. Levitt kind of came out like, I think, on the worst end of that head clash, but like I said, it wasn't like or was it the other way around?
No, you're totally right. Like he got hit, Ogden's top of his head, like top of the forehead, hit
That's
right on the chin, and just clapped his jaw up, and
he immediately wobbled him a little bit.
He immediately stepped back and was you could hear him go headbutt, and he was hitting his chin like that
to his jaw.
Yeah, and Ogden was cool about it. And obviously the ref, who do we have in this fight? It was Tonioni. Good memory. Holy shit. So yeah, he immediately steps in and is like, yo, take your time. But you know what? I had the weirdest thoughts about this fight, man. I can't quit thinking about this fight because I never see fighters step back and say the word out loud and start pointing at their, you know what I mean? They'll look at the ref to stop it. Levitt looked at Ogden like, hey, you just headbutted me. Hold on. That dude's weird. That's what I mean. His brain works weird.
It does. Nobody else would have. Well, I can't say nobody, but very few guys.
Most other fighters will not look at the other fighter across them and say, "Whoa, time out! You illegally struck me."
Yeah. It was cool. And I guess shout out to Ogden. Maybe it speaks to the fact that he is a little bit older. And probably some 21-year-old killer probably just goes to the kill there. But 34-year-old Ogden, I think he may have a family, different type of mentality there. But, so they stop it. No points deducted, but it is kind of worth mentioning, I guess you could say. How'd you score round 2? I gave it to Levitt.
Man, so this is what I'm talking about, though, is Ogden stuffed 2 shots, and he had increased strike differential in round 2. He was actually piecing, I thought, Levitt up. Now, granted, Levitt was landing a lot of leg kicks, and that leg was looking really brutal, but I thought Levitt was getting hit in the face. In round 2 much more. Because when you looked at the strike numbers, they were close.
I didn't look at them.
They were close, but Levitt was ahead by 25 leg strikes through round 2, whereas he had 3 hits to the head. Right? So,
sure. Yeah, I'm not arguing.
So I kind of started going back and forth. I ended up giving it to Ogden, which is hilarious because not one judge gave round 1 to Levitt, and not one judge gave round 2 to Ogden. So I just completely flipped the rounds. And that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if I even knew what I was talking about in this fight.
Well, I've been there with my scorecards, and I mean, judging is subjective, and this fight was really close. I mean, it ends up being a split decision, so I think the fact that it ends up being a split doesn't show that you're too far out of line. There was a lot of open for interpretation there.
It was more so weird stylistically too. These guys had a weird combative matchup where Levitt wanted to either be on the legs, whether it be him leg kicking, checking kicks, or taking Ogden down. And Ogden seemed like he wanted to strike and was happy to go to the ground, but only wanted it to be on his terms. So Ogden was almost trying to fight like a more traditional fight, whereas Levitt will not do that. And it made it super weird for me to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And then keeping it going to round 3 here, I thought round was probably the easiest to score out of all of this. And if we disagree on this one, I might have to send you a drug test. But yeah.
You have Levitt for round 3?
Yeah, round 3.
Okay.
Levitt. Okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. One of the judges disagrees with us and gave round 3 to Ogden.
That guy drug test. Because, I mean, round 3, he pretty much had Ogden on his back. And I got to say, part of my notes, it's more so a knock on Ogden than it is a credit to Levitt. I have in my notes, and I never really take the time to write this down, but it was kind of the story of round 3. Ogden was accepting the position.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, he wasn't even really trying to get up to his feet. So it's even if you wanted to look at this through an Ogden colored lens, I don't know.
Couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, what was there to score for Ogden? I mean, maybe there was a couple of strikes, but once he got on his back, he stayed there. And yeah, Levitt. It's not like Levitt did all that much damage, or it just. I mean,
For the
Ogden didn't do shit to get up or change position or reverse or sweep or throw up a sub. I mean, Ogden didn't really do anything but lay on his back, and I can't give you a round for that. So yeah, when I said this was the easiest round to score, that's where I'm coming from.
I agree with you entirely, man. And I think for the judge, I will say this at least for Junichiro Kamijo, which is the judge that scored it 29-28 for Ogden, right? Rounds 1 and 3 to him. In her defense, at least she gave Ogden 1 and 3, which I both scored to Levitt on control. So obviously that judge does not value top position control if you aren't doing anything with it.
Yeah, at least there's consistency there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I feel you. I'd rather it be there than just all over the place and not like no rhyme or reason, for sure. But yeah, like I said, I have a tough time giving round 3 to Ogden, and this is coming from a guy who gave round 1 to Ogden. So it's not like I just in round 1, Ogden. I mean, he almost got the sub. He almost got he went for that guillotine. He was throwing the hands. He got unlucky and slipped. But I mean, in round 3, there wasn't no slip. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so my scorecard comes out to 29-28 Levitt. Round 1 being the only really close one.
Yeah, what's weird is we get there different ways. And I could have honestly been talking to scoring this 30-27 for Levitt, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely
like more so than Ogden. I could never have been talking to scoring at 30-27 for Ogden.
Too. I see your point there, and I agree with it.
The last last point I have on this fight before we keep it pushing, because there are a lot of fights. We got to be fair to them all.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a split decision.
Yeah, split decision. 2 judges, 29-28 for Levitt. 1 judge, 29-28 for Ogden. Was a close fight. I think Levitt was the clear winner of the fight. Now, that's, of course, a subjective opinion, but I think most people out there agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Now, beyond that, what do you do if you're the UFC with Jordan Levitt from here? Because he's starting to accrue wins. He's 3-1.
3-1. I mean, that's nothing to laugh at.
And at 155 is not the easiest division. You're going to have to start giving him names that are more recognizable, especially because he has such marketable highlights and he's so weird. Like, he came out to Smash Mouth All-Star. Okay? Yeah, and he said, it just puts me in the zone. That's what he said about the song. He said, it just puts me in the right zone. What the fuck? What person on earth gets put in the right zone by All-Star by Smash Mouth? And also, you could tell me that if you're like, yeah, I'm a cheerleader. Like, okay, cool. Like, that song's upbeat. Like, it gets you. You know what I'm saying? What fighting combat sport, football even, would you play that song to get hyped to?
I think he said something like his kid likes that song, and so like that's why it puts him in a good space.
He's a weird. He's such a weirdo. But I love it.
Like post-fight twerk though, because like that's really when we keep saying weird, like that's what we're coming down to, right? He not only twerks, he like drops it low.
Hits the splits. He always hits the splits when he gets his name announced.
Kissed his lips.
He started licking his lips. All right, he hits a full split, right? North-south split. Then he comes up from the split in full 180 bend and then just starts ass shaking as he stands up and is licking his lips as he erects himself. And I was just like...
Straight like Meg the Stallion moves.
Yeah. It literally looked like Megan the Stallion. I was like, bro, are you... What is going on? And DC, Danny Cormier and Dominic Cruz are losing their shit laughing at him.
So here's the thing, man. I need an answer to a question before I like form an opinion. And maybe it's just the times we're living in. Like, is he actually gay? Because if so, I guess it's like not funny, right? Like,
But the marketing is. I'm saying it's funny because the marketing aspect of the UFC would be so crazy if they knew that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if he's actually gay, he needs to like come out and market himself as like the gay UFC
as a kid.
Fighter. But even that in 2022, that don't mean nothing.
You're saying he's got a really good beard? His beard is thick. I don't. Like, you know how I mean that.
Oh. But I'm just saying, like, so, like, if he's actually gay, I think it's still very marketable. And, like, hey, there's, like, a sassy, you know what I mean, like, gay UFC fighter. In 2022, there's a big market for that.
That'll sell like hot cakes, especially if he's slamming dudes and knocking them out and inverted triangling them.
Like, dude, there's a but I'm saying, or is he doing, like, the Jake Paul, like, clap cheeks, the Israel Adesanya, like, the kind of sus humor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a thing. That's a lane. Like, we all know dudes that, like, like the sus humor. Like, it's like.
I mean, Chrissy D, Chris Stefano. Like, he's all
Exactly.
about
Chris
ultra sus
Stefano.
humor, but I think
Yeah.
he's so funny. Like, that dude's hilarious.
In that, but that's also marketable. There's a lane for that too. So it's like I just don't know what I'm looking at here. Like I'm saying, I'm cool with either one. I just don't know, like Box, like how to categorize it. Like, is he being like his authentic, true self, or is he like being a hilarious, quirky guy, like a Chris Stefano kind of like energy? I don't know, like literally
Chrissy
how to
D.
how to interpret it. Like I don't know what I'm looking at here, and I guess I guess that's kind of an open-ended statement, but I don't really have until I get an answer to that question, which I guess you say, oh, it's none of your business, so he's fucking fair. I just don't know like what direction to kind of
Okay.
market this. Like
Let
what
me
kind
let
of
me rephrase the question in a way that is fair in all aspects, right? Is it the
okay.
UFC's job to do a better job of marketing his weirdness, or are they doing what they should be doing by just letting him accrue his own, like, or because like right now they're testing the waters with him, clearly, because they're trying to decide, should we promote this guy in such a way or should we not? But it's so hard to tell. Like you're talking about, is he Chrissy D, where it's all funny and he's got a wife and kids and like is actually very straight and just wants to like have that cringe sus humor, or is he actually a gay man in the UFC? And in which case, the UFC can promote either one. But
Yeah.
is it Jordan Levitt's job to tell us that, or is it the UFC's job to figure it out and push it?
Well, I think it's definitely well as far as like the coming out thing, it's 100% up to Jordan Levitt. And like I said,
If
if there's
that's the
anything to
thing,
come out, like
that's what I'm
if that's
saying.
the thing, like and
But
I
if
don't
it's
know,
not,
I
does
don't
the
know what I'm
UFC just
looking
have
at
to
here.
jump on it? That's where my confusion is
I
like
don't understand what you mean by that. Like, is it the UFC's job to like
to like
like
promote him and give him media time more often so that he can be his true like funny self and like actually show people like this dude's just a comedian that fights,
well,
or
I think
or
that
do they
comes
push
with
the
the
Michael
win.
Sam narrative? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
obviously, if they get that narrative, they're going to push the hell out of it. That's just modern day sports in the world we live in. Like, if you're the first gay athlete in your professional sport, you will be critically acclaimed for it. But that makes sense. Like, you
Probably
are
with
that
the
person.
SB. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like real
I
talk.
mean, yeah. Yeah, look at the Penn swimmer. We won't talk about that.
No, yeah, no, exactly. No, but it's a thing,
That's
right? So it's like
transgender. That's different.
I guess, but like we but like but yeah, like I said, I just don't know what I'm looking at here. Either way, he has us talking. He had other people talking. He had DC talking. I said there's something there. I just don't know what that something is. And I guess on that note, we can keep it pushing.
For sure. No, I mean, I'm down. Honestly, also for anyone that's watching this, on live on YouTube later, if you know anything about Jordan Levitt that we don't know and you want to drop in the comments, please drop in the comments.
No,
Okay?
seriously, because like I said, I would love to know just like how to like approach this, like what lens to kind of view it through. And I think that's like fair on my end to say. I think you
Well,
kind of have
but
to approach those two situations differently, right?
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying too, though, is that like for the UFC, they can't just like jump on and start a marketing train, because if it ends up that he comes out as a gay man, it's like, well, you can't just say he was being quirky and funny because he's just being himself. And that was
Yeah,
all of a sudden like you boxed him in. But they also can't come out and be like, yeah, he's a gay man, and not let him have that moment or right to do that.
yeah,
So,
and no, that's why it's like, dude, like until otherwise, I'm gonna stay pretty neutral on it, just because, like I said, I like whenever DC was like laughing and saying how funny it was, like I was low key, like I wasn't like cringing, it's because like it didn't offend me,
but
but I was kind of
your prototype UFC fan was cringed up. Like, what the fuck was that?
cringed up, and also like the woke crowd was probably cringed up too. On the like both sides were probably cringing because like exactly if he's an actual gay dude, like you're not supposed to like talk about how funny that is. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like
Oh, yeah, for
that's
DC
the
commenting on it.
that's
Yeah.
the angle I'm coming from. Like probably we
I,
get like a clear delineation here. It's like dog, catch me riding the fence
so I'm
because
I'm super glad that we both agree on that, though, that like that wasn't just like a normal move for a UFC fighter. Like, that was completely out of the ordinary. But is like, and at the same time, it's promotion of fighting, right? Like, they're a fight promotion, so that helped promote it, because as we just did for the last 6 minutes, we talked about it.
exactly, and like I said, we'll keep it pushing. Next fight, another marketable guy, a lot of guy, interesting guy, fun guy, a lot of the same words, so a lot of not the same words, but some of the same words that we were using just a second ago to
Oh, dude,
describe Chris Barnett.
You mean the number one guy to invite to a barbecue aside from Derek Lewis in the UFC roster? Yeah.
Exactly. Like the most fun guy. I mean, bro, I can't tell you how many tweets I saw talking about Chris Barnett. People were like legitimately stoked for this fight.
Well,
People
dude.
legitimately thought that this fight should have been on the main card. Like, I don't know how many tweets I saw from UFC fans saying, like, what the fuck? This is on the prelims? Like, people like love Chris Barnett and like were like giving him like star recognition. 100%.
They
I'm not
understand
saying
he's not
I
that.
was.
I know that, but I'm saying the casual UFC fan does not understand. He's not that good. Like, John Vellante gained 60 pounds in 4 months and came up and fought him in retirement. Like, he's not that
John
good.
Vellante was done when that happened, and he you know, the spinning wheel king knockout. It was a great highlight. The walkout where he's dancing and he's fat and athletic,
And then does the front flip to celebrate.
yeah, it was all so fun. But exactly, I viewed it the same way Vegas did. Vegas had him as a plus 210 underdog, and I didn't know a lot about Martin Buday, but I was like,
I learned immediately.
well, and I was just like, Chris Barnett against any like legitimate UFC heavyweight should be about a plus 210. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
I didn't have to know who Buday was. Which, to my credit, Buday was making his debut, so it's not like I just didn't do my research. But
No.
yeah, Buday was making his debut at a minus 260, and that says a lot. You know, you make your debut at almost 3-1. I mean, that's a lot. You know, high expectations. You can say matchup, but I mean. Hey, I think that's high expectations, a little bit of hype for a guy. Obviously, this fight's taking place in the heavyweight division. And, yeah, I mean, I was excited to see, like, if Chris Barnett could pull a rabbit out of a hat. You know what I'm saying? But also,
For sure.
the minute this fight started, you could see that Chris Barnett's whole game plan was trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat, which lets
That's
you know
what I
you're
was going
not
to say.
going to. Like, if
Well,
you're
and also
trying to do that,
you could
it's
tell
not going to
Boudet's
happen.
game plan was, I'm going to walk you down like a gangster to the edge of this cage. I'm just going to put work on you because I'm way bigger, I'm way longer, and I'm stronger. There's nothing you can do, Chris Barnett. And that's essentially what ended up occurring, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And that's definitely like the Boudai perspective. You know, I guess the glass half empty, like Barnett perspective was like, it honestly seemed like his entire game plan was trying to land a Hail Mary.
I
Just
couldn't.
like
I will say Chris Barnett is incredibly tough, man, because he does have a broken rib. That is, like, they actually went back, got X-rays. That's a real thing. He took multiple shots to that rib after it was broken.
my dog hears some shit. I'm sorry, but Holly. But anyway, yeah, I'm sorry.
She listens better than Titus. I'll be honest. Usually Titus will just keep going until he finds himself okay with it.
Holly. This department, there's just always something going on. Goddamn,
Oh yeah.
release is up in July. I cannot wait. But and anyway, yeah, you're right. This fight was all Boudai. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go round by round on this one because Boudai just clinched Barnett up. Because usually you think the closer guy wants to clinch you that, but this was like the weird like matchup where the taller guy actually wanted to get in close and was able to do so whenever he wanted to. The head position, which is also weird, the taller guy putting his head straight in Barnett's chest. And
It was so weird, dude. He reminded me so much of Ben Rothwell. He reminded me so much of Ben Rothwell that it legitimately scared me, man. Like his physique, his like the way he presented himself in the cage, his fight style. I was like, that's Ben Rothwell. Like, and shout out to Dominic Cruz, man. He was so on point last night. He was my if we were going to give a commentary of the night every event, I thought it was Dominic Cruz last night. Especially when he started campaigning for himself whenever DC was like, yeah, what about Aldo? And he was like, that's the fight. I want to fight him. Give me Aldo. And he was like, but these women are fighting right now. Don't worry about that. And I was like, yes, Dominic Cruz, you're doing it right.
I loved all that, man.
Anyway, back to the X's and O's of this fight, because the only reason I brought that up was to say that
technical decision. So like that's like the main storyline of this.
The only reason I brought that up was to say that Dominic Cruz was the first one to say he looked and fought just like Ben Rothwell. Not me. I didn't want to steal that from him because he does look like him and he does fight like him. And that's a scary thing, dude. Ben Rothwell was a scary heavyweight for a long time.
Exactly, and imagine just like a young, rejuvenated, because Ben Rothwell, getting older, kind of, not.
Shout out the Maker's Cask.
Oh, nice. There you go. I'm gonna crack a Stella here in a second, but yeah, man. As far as the guy goes, aside from looking like Rothwell, I mean, he is a very large heavyweight. He does have like a real skill set and a real like game plan and a real path to victory. Because if you think about it, a lot of heavyweights like to strike. And if he's able to clinch these guys up against the fence, I mean, now granted, you're not going to win a lot of fans and a lot of bonuses fighting that way, but his ability to get decision wins against a lot of heavyweights, I think, is a real thing that we have to acknowledge. Like I said, now it's kind of a lukewarm, compliment, but it's the best I can do. Yeah.
So as you noted, it was Budai's debut in the UFC, but for background outside of fighting, he cuts weight to get to 265. They noted that for us. Well, he used to weigh in at 375 whenever he was, I think, young 20s, late teens, and was a professional Defense of the Ancients player in Europe, which you can make very, very good money in doing that. Like, I think last year's prize pool for the World Championships in Dota, Defense of the Ancients 2, was, I believe, $19 million. So,
what?
Oh, yeah, it's way, way more than these fighters will ever see. So, like,
what?
Yeah. So, like, it's the most widely played game in Europe as far as MOBA-style games. So, like, League of Legends here, or, League of Legends in Korea is what that is. But in Europe, it's Defense of the Ancients. And this dude was a pro gamer at that.
Wow. That's
So,
interesting, man. That's interesting. I didn't have any perspective on that. That's cool.
Yeah, all that said to say that those are games that require intense decision-making in split seconds, along with mechanical reaction time, which are great things for being a fighter.
Yeah.
Great things for being a fighter.
Yeah. No, okay. That's cool to know. They said I didn't know anything about that game or that whole world. That's awesome to, bring to the table. Now in the third round, the unfortunate trend, starts happening and we get an elbow to the back of the head from the guy to Barnett. And the thing is that happened in this fight and that was happening throughout the night was a guy would be up 2 rounds, be completely well in charge of a fight, winning the fight clearly, no debate.
Right, no debate, yeah.
The guy winning the fight, much like we saw in the Piotr Jan Sterling fight, but maybe even more so, commits the illegal act. In this case, an illegal blow to the back of the head, an elbow, actually. It's pretty gnarly. Now, and then I guess this is where there's so much gray area. Because as we saw in the Aljamain Sterling Piotr Jan
I'm so
fight,
glad you referenced this fight because I have problems with how these fights were handled based on how that fight was handled. Because they said after you fight 2 rounds, if you're in the third round, it can be the ref's opinion whether or not it goes to the scorecard, whether or not it was an intentional strike. And Dominic Cruz brought up the great point of whether you meant to throw the strike or not and it connected illegally, you threw the strike, so it had to be intentional that you threw it. It wasn't like you were, like with Aljamain and Jan, it's not like you just need him to throw a knee. Like he meant to hit him in the head with the knee. This dude meant to elbow him in the head.
For sure, like when DC's perspective was on it, like however many fights he said he had, and I know I don't have the shirt on pulled up, but what I'm saying is like however many DC was like, I fought X amount of times, and every single strike I ever threw was intentional.
Yeah,
so that's another perspective.
And Cruz agreed with it. And Cruz agreed with that.
Like, what do you mean unintentional? Like you're in a fight and you're hitting somebody.
But you could say accidentally misplaced. That's a better way to say it.
Like when I'm in like a store with my wife and I go to point at something and accidentally bump her in the head, like that's unintentional. Like you weren't even throwing a strike. You can't be like trying to strike somebody.
Boom. I was gonna say giving up a home run's not throwing an intentional strike. You know what I mean? Like you were intending to throw a strike. The home run wasn't your intention. That was an intended strike, and it just was a home run.
So that, like I said, this happens again on this card. So we're talking more big.
It's a big deal, yeah.
More than we are Buday Barnett. So as we all know, in the Jan Sterling 1 fight, the Sterling's unable to continue. And
Jan's DQ'd.
And Jan's a DQ, and Sterling has the belt, which he still has the belt. Now, in this fight, I forget, was Barnett was unable to keep fighting, right?
He wanted to, but the doctor said his eyes are not right. He was definitely concussed. Like, it actually concussed him. And you could see his eyes, like, were dilated. They were huge.
So it's not necessarily apples to apples, because in the Sterling fight, Sterling said, I can't fight. Right?
Well, yes.
It was Sterling.
Yeah.
That's why he got the wrath of the fans.
Well, because he sold it so hard.
Exactly. So this was not pretty close to apples, but not exact same scenario. But Barnett says he can keep going. The doctor says he can't. The ref determines it's unintentional. And with the combination of those 3 factors, somehow we actually go to the scorecards for what's called a technical decision. And as a result of the technical decision, they score even the third round up until the moment the fight stopped.
Right.
And Budai was winning.
Absolutely.
Much of the same technique. Every round looked the same in this fight.
Yeah, Barnett had a broken rib from knees up the middle. He was literally crumbling to the floor every time his rib got touched. I mean, this fight was going to get stopped. This is actually a saving grace to Barnett, if I was going to get to say anything about it in retrospect. Losing a decision to a guy named Budai, who might go on to be someone in heavyweight, is going to look a whole lot better than getting TKO'd.
Fair. I haven't considered that perspective. So this ends up being a 30-27 times 3 technical unanimous decision. Like I said, that's more so. Budai wins his debut. You know, I guess a little bit of a stain on it that'll like fade with time. He was going to win the fight anyway. That he was a minus 260 favorite. None of that's very interesting to talk about. What's interesting to talk about is just how up in the air and just like subjective maybe is like doesn't seem like strong enough of a word to even use. Just like random, like or not even random. Like, how do you just juxtapose this and what happens again later in the card? And I guess if you want to have the bigger broad stroke conversation after the second one, well, I guess we can have that. But just like, I guess just this fight versus the Piotr Jan fight, do you view it as apples to apples, or does the difference of the doctor actually stopping it like matter to you? I don't even know how to feel. Like, it's obviously dumb. Like, there should be some kind of consistency, you know what I mean? It's like, anyway, the floor is yours. How do you feel about it?
I think my takeaway of it is not apples to apples entirely, only because the doctor told Barnett, like, nah, like, I'm not going to let you go. So that's very different. That is the doctor telling the athlete, like, no, you cannot perform, whereas the athlete is not saying I cannot perform. So, and I like that scenario too, because I think that's you saving the athlete from themselves, right? Like, I do believe that's a thing. It's not the athlete's job to save themselves from themselves.
Yes. And I hate that they asked the concussed fighter. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like how
so
Joe Rogan
ridiculous.
has said, I will refuse to interview knocked out fighters after a fight. And then he'll interview Conor. But like, and then that goes crazy because Conor's telling Dustin he'll kill his wife. So that's, whatever. That's a whole Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's all crazy. It is different, man. But I think we'll get into it much later in the card. I think that one's much closer to apples than this one is.
Yes, I agree. This one was a little different. Yes, but close enough. Not that different, right? Like
not different enough for me to not wonder why the hell Jan didn't get to go to decision.
There's too much, like I said. I mean, the word's gray area, subjective. Like, I feel like I need a better adjective, and I'm just drawing a blank. But what I'm getting at here, there needs to be almost like a flow chart. Like, did this happen? Did this happen?
Like, I almost feel like if the doctor says you can't continue from an illegal strike, it's a DQ. Right? That's how I almost feel, right? Like, if the doctor has to come in and stop it for you making an illegal move, and you ruin the competition because the doctor is not allowing the other guy to compete because of your illegal action, you can't be the winner.
Well, and then also, I think the doctor and the ref need to be the only ones in charge of this. Like, the whole asking Aljamain and asking Chris Barnett, like, while they're clearly concussed, like, that's stupid as fuck. Like, that just seems
it makes no sense.
Like who the fuck?
Yeah, like, is that not obvious?
How does that factor in? And it's an unbiased party too, with something to lose. Like, it's there's like 9 reasons why you shouldn't ask the fighter, and the fighter should be removed from the decision making progress. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't ask the quarterback, like, hey, was that roughing the passer? You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
No other sport works like that.
Yeah.
You ask LeBron as he's doing a layup, like, hey,
he got you on the wrist, or was that on just the tips?
Exactly. No other sport asks the athlete. Ask the guy who hit the home run, like, was that a foul? No, okay, all right, cool.
Right.
Like
which side of the pole did it go on?
Yeah, like no other sport, and then you add in a concussion on top of the bias, and it's like, what in the fuck are we doing here? So, like I said, this just need to figure it out, man. Like I said, it either needs to go to the judge. If the doctor stops, like, there needs to be, like I said, a flow chart. Like, literally, they could solve this all with a flow chart, like an 80s style flow chart. Like, does the doctor stop the fight as a result of the illegal blow? If so, DQ. If no, judge's decision. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Can fighter continue? If no, judge's decision. If yes, continue fight.
it's not rocket science. There's the wiggle room, the subjectivity, the gray area. Like we all love that there's a little bit of that in fighting, right? Like I got like once again, I was bringing up Chael. He brought up a point. There's a reason why they have 3 judges, is because you can see it 3 different ways. You don't have 3 judges, so you can all give you the same answer. That would be eliminate the point of having the 3 judges.
To make it fair, though, there's the doctor, there's Mergliata, and then he has to go consult with another official that's Octagon side, which was Herb Dean, that they both consulted that it should go. So they all 3 essentially are the ones that make that ruling. Granted, it's 2 refs and a doctor, but like there's still 3 people that are making that decision.
It's ridiculous, man. So Budai gets the win, and once again, as we alluded to, we'll revisit this topic. Unfortunately, we're not done.
Yeah, not like we want to come back to that,
but we will, unfortunately. But let's keep it pushing, man, because this next guy, I don't know if you have fighters like this. They're not top guys. They're not future champs. You just like them. Like I don't know. Like I have guys that.
Rafa Garcia's a dog. He's just a dog in the street,
bro. Like I just like him. Like I just like watching him fight. I like his style. I don't know what it is about Garcia that I'm just a fan of. He's not the most marketable guy. I don't even know if I follow him on social media. But when I watch this guy fight, it always delivers. I believe in this
he's
guy.
Not implicative to the division necessarily. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's Arman Sarukian or Fazeev. You know what I mean? He's none of those guys.
Yeah. I just like this guy, man.
He's just fun to watch fight.
Yeah, like exactly. Like I said, maybe that's an oversimplification. Maybe it's a casual take. Whatever the fuck. I like this guy. I like Rafa Garcia. And I liked him as an underdog coming into this. I almost put him on my parlay. I did it because in my mind, I was doing a safe parlay this week, which I still fucking missed. But I was
both legs. You were Lieutenant Dan this week.
No, I was 1 for 2, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I was 1 for 2. I included that. We'll get to it. I was 1 for 2, but anyway, would have been 2 for 3. Because he was fighting Jesse Ronson, who hasn't fought. You know what I mean, in a couple of years.
I just would have been 2 for 3. Like that's my favorite. Like if we'd attempted another field goal, I would have made that shit.
Oh, exactly, man. And it still would have been parlay.
Lose the game, but make another field goal. You know.
Exactly. Make the percentage a little better, man.
Bump those numbers up.
Rafa coming in at plus 115. They said, you give me Rafa Garcia against the guy who hasn't fought in 2 years at plus 115. I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you get more than your own money back. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Especially with a guy like Rafa Garcia that is Cub Swanson's training partner or was, and now he still trains with him, but obviously Cub is
made out of
like that.
Leather. He's just
yeah.
You know, he's just tough, man.
And he looks like he's just street tough as fuck too.
Oh yeah, and he looks the part, fights the part.
But he's slick on his feet too, man.
Yeah, it's not all
because,
heart and balls.
I mean, diving into it, I mean, round 1, I thought he was the slicker striker. Yeah, I thought he outstruck Jesse Ronson, and Jesse Ronson's supposed to be like a decorated striker. Yeah.
Well, because it was volume and power more so than it was technique and counter and timing. You know what I mean? He just came at him with volume. But a guy like Rafa Garcia, volume or no, when he hits you, it's pretty thuddy. You know what I mean? There's a little something on it. Even though he had more of a volume approach, it was still a little something on him.
I feel like that was Ronson's downfall, was that he was throwing with too much power. He was trying to take Garcia's head off with every shot. Whereas if he had just thrown normal strikes, I think he would have hit the target a lot more and been more effective in landing combinations to set up those big shots.
Which is exactly what Rafa Garcia did. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. But it's weird that the more technical striker didn't realize his error and be more technical.
Well, I think that's the problem sometimes when technical strikers fight MMA strikers is they're waiting for it and they're trying to set up. There has to be a balance. I'm not saying don't set up anything or don't try to time any counters, but
and you got to be worried about getting a takedown, getting shot in on.
Exactly. So, Rafa Garcia, he just came forward. He was throwing often and just had the natural power to when they landed. You know, there was a little something on it. And he got the takedown, too. So he showed, just like it said, the well-roundedness.
And that's what I'm saying. Getting that takedown puts Ronson completely on his back foot where he's like, man, I really like if I'm gonna throw with this power, like I gotta connect it. Like I can't be throwing combos because if I leave myself out here now, I'm definitely getting taken down. Like you know what I'm saying? It's in the back of their head
Yeah,
now.
for sure, man. And then so Garcia wins round one. And then in round two, the refs get involved again. And I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, are you fucking with me right now? Like, my
Oh
favorite
well,
line in Bad Santa. Are you fucking with me, kid? Like,
you fucking with me, kid?
like seriously, man. It's like another
I
point
thought,
deduction.
well, Mark Smith again, oddly enough, for the point deduction, at least for that aspect of it. But I thought that it was extremely strange that, or not strange, but like I thought it was extremely wrong. Like I thought Homeboy's knee was up. I thought that Ronson's knee was up when the knee hit, and I was like, "Whoa, you're stopping a fight!" Whenever like he just landed a clean strike, like. But then credit to Mark Smith, like whenever when the replay hit it, like he literally got it within the split second, which is
Mark Smith.
impressive.
Well,
Like
when
shout
you're
out
like a
Mark
fucking
Smith.
fighter pilot, your fucking eye, like you know what I mean? Like his
I
eye,
mean,
like
yeah,
he
that's
sees it
true.
all.
That's just his tracking ability is crazy good. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the word.
Um. So
Garcia loses the point.
right, like Mark Smith takes the point, but I agree with it. Do you?
No, I do too.
Okay, all right.
But it was one of those things where Ronson was fine, right? Like he wasn't. It was never really a question if he was going to continue. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I agree with that. I guess my only caveat is like still a legal strike, still a grounded opponent with a knee to the head. Like I do have to take a point for that because that's a very dangerous thing.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with the point deduction for sure. And then but it's cool because at the opposite of Estella, remember when Estella Nunez got the point taken, she kind of mailed it in and was like, well, I'm not going to win this fight. Rafa Garcia got the point deducted and was like, oh, I got to finish this fool now. I'm not going to win a decision. And it was like obvious. Like
And credit to Rafa Garcia. Yeah, because like DC and DC talked about like, well, it's important to win the round if your opponent loses the point because you get a 10-8 and you can win both rounds in one, essentially 2 rounds in one. Well, it's equally as important, in my opinion, to win that round as the guy that loses the point to make sure that that's a split round.
Yes, 100%.
So, and I think that's what Garcia was going for, and then he just got the reward of, I mean, you push the gas pedal and you do it right, and you make the right moves. You handle the wheel right when the gas is down. You get the finish. Like we see Rafa Garcia get onto his back, get into a dangerous position. And then with 10 seconds left, I believe it was, 11 seconds, we get the tap from the rear naked choke. And, like, you could tell Ronson, he was explosive at getting off the ground or trying to. I could see, like, his movement up was strong. But Garcia did a good job to get the hooks in and take the back and get the choke on.
I was surprised he got that finish with 10 seconds remaining, especially with the rear naked choke. And, man, Rafa Garcia really improved his single legs, man. Like his ability to finish those single legs and kind of like chain wrestle a little bit out of a guy like Rafa Garcia, who you don't necessarily like. I don't want to say don't expect it from, but like that skill set. I view him more as like a boxer, a brawler. So like he has that single leg to that. Granted, Ronson's not necessarily known for his wrestling; actually, quite the opposite. So I guess we'll see if that single leg works against a better wrestler. But that being said, the single leg was working all night. And he was going to it, and he was mixing it up. And like I said, man, I just like this guy. I'm going to shine his wheels a little bit. You give me a chance to say nice things about Rafa Garcia, I'm going to do it, man. Like I said, just eye test, just fan, just like watching the guy fight. You know what I mean? Like in baseball, there's always a couple guys on the A's that like nobody really gives a shit about, but I just like the way he plays, or I like his swag, or I like his attitude. I don't know, man. I just something about Rafa Garcia I like, and he gets the win here. Cashes plus 115, gets the second round finish. Hey, man, he's a good fighter.
Yeah, I like him. Solid dude. Unfortunately, once again, probably not division implications there with him.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys.
He's a guy that's going to be fun
for anybody.
Always going to be a fun fight. Always going to be a name that you can put on the prelims of a pay-per-view, and he would be rightfully there. Like, he will be an entertaining fight that is at least a good enough name where you can put someone that's right before a ranking against him, and if they beat him, they can get that shot against someone in the rankings. Like, that's where I feel like he is.
Like an older guy, like a Clay Guida, like a Jim Miller, like a.
Yeah, a Jim Miller fight would be cool with Rafa Garcia as well.
Those would be sick. You know what I mean? But he's a fun guy to watch. But we can keep it pushing, I guess. You know what I'm saying? We got Jakar Close coming in at minus 630. And when I saw that money line, I was just like why? Like, I mean, like, it was people really going to bet this fight anyway? I mean, he's fighting Brandon Jenkins coming in at plus 450. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's rare you see a money line this big on a fight that's this, like, irrelevant. Like, you'll see the giant money lines on the Shevchenko fights, on the Nunez fights.
Because
Like,
they don't want the public
Volkanovski.
Yeah, because they want to get the whales out of they don't want whales in on it, or they want only the whales in on it, I should say, not the regular public, right? This one was one of the same things where they were like, the regular public, we don't want you to bet Jakar Klose because, like, we just know he's going to win. It's not worth our time.
Yeah, true that, man. It's just like this money line just seemed weird to me. Not weird that I disagreed with it, just like it was so dramatic on like I said, or like you'll see it on like a hype prospect, but like I don't know, just like I guess maybe I didn't have enough respect on Jakar Close's name. I guess like I didn't know Jakar Close was going to be a minus 630 over anybody.
So March 28th when the fight was announced, it opened at minus 360.
That's about right.
And then jumped down to minus 400, and then until April 10th, it was still at minus 400. And then something happened in fight week where it went minus 250 or minus 220 down more.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So I guess maybe Brandon Jenkins just looked like shit during fight week or what?
Something had to happen, or some inside information of an injury got out or something, or just some. Yeah, man. So this one was weird. Either way, Close looked the part, though. I gotta say, he looked like a minus 630
easy
favorite.
10-8 first. Easy
10-8 first. Yeah, I mean,
every judge scored it that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, which is rare, right? When three judges give out.
Usually one judge will be soft.
Yeah, it's rare that. So I mean, we had it. So that's 5 10-8s. I mean, yeah, that was an ass whooping in round one. This fight looked like a minus 630.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes in round one. Jenkins needs to learn how to protect his chin, or else this night's going to be over very shortly.
Yeah, and Chris, Mystic Harrison over here, Mystic Mac, but because this was the classic example of this fight ends 33 seconds into round two, but this
really ended round one.
Yeah, this was a 6-minute round. You know,
it was a round. We went around town with these guys.
Yeah, no, because I mean this fight, like you said, was over in one. They had to ring the bell to start two, and just Jakar Close just went ahead and got him out of there. You know what I mean? Via TKO, via strikes, via punches. Jenkins, man, was tough as nails, which kind of a backhanded compliment, but
super
not really,
tough because he actually was still contesting and trying to fight whenever the ref stopped it, which to me was absurd.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, big like Chris Moutinho vibes out of Brandon Jenkins. You know what I mean? It's the guy can take a fucking beating, and
he ate 76 significant strikes.
They were all like power shots too. Like if you're playing the UFC video game,
Close landed 77 strikes in the fight. He threw 108 significant, and he threw 109 total. Every strike
everything was
that
hard.
He threw was which that paints a beautiful picture.
If you're playing the video game, L1 was held down the entire time.
The entire turbo strikes.
Yeah, but shout out to closest cardio. I mean, I know this fight only lasted 5.5 minutes, but to throw 100 power strikes and
in 6 minutes.
Because I thought he was gonna gas out a couple times. It's like, oh, is Brandon Jenkins gonna pull this like Darren Elkins? You just beat the shit out of me until you're exhausted, and then but no, that did not happen. Now, as for Close's call out, I absolutely fucking loved it.
Oh yeah, Marco Madsen.
I'm critical of these call outs. He nailed it on the head.
And they didn't have to ask him. He immediately ripped it.
It's a fight he can actually get. You know what I mean? He didn't outkick his coverage. He didn't
it's a fight that would boost him way further back up in the rankings.
And it's a fight that I fucking want to see.
Yeah, and Madsen is close to the rankings. So if close, for lack of a better term, can beat Madsen, he'll literally be able to get a shot to fight pretty much a ranked guy, Diego Pereira or something like that.
Well, and it's an interesting matchup too, because Madsen obviously has outstanding wrestling, but he gets fucking hit a lot. And in Close,
and for a guy like Close to call him out, and I don't know, it's interesting. I like the call a whole lot.
I like the call out a lot because usually
and then if that fight happens, it does have slight implications on the very back end of 115 rankings or 155 rankings.
Well, and I think big implications on like who the UFC is going to like get behind, as far as like unranked lightweights. You know what I mean? Yeah, 100%. That's a big fight. Like that fight would probably be like because Mark Madsen, right? He was on the main card of the pay-per-view his last one, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean,
yeah,
like if you
Vince Pichel.
Like, yeah, if you tell me close Mark Madsen's not like maybe like a
no, he didn't fight Pichel.
No, it was Pichel, I thought. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is right. Because Pichel got first takedown ever on Madsen. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so what I'm saying is, I could see that close Madsen fight being like a fight night co-main or like a fight night featured bout.
Yeah, for sure. And then the winner could be working on getting then onto like a ranked, maybe you're the main event of a prelims on a pay-per-view. Yeah. And then from there you get your own fight night, and then from there you're on the main card, maybe the third, the featured spot.
Big implications though.
Yeah, you're 3-4 fights away from being a big dog in your division here.
Exactly, right? Because both these guys are talented. First bonus of the night, Close gets the bonus, which, I mean, it's hard to look better. I don't know, though. I mean, I may have given it to Aleksei Haley over this just because of the money line, which I know you can't really, but Jakar Close minus 630 gets him out of there in the second round. Aleksei Haley minus 180 gets him out of there in 47 seconds. I mean, that's a weird way to look at it. I don't know. I'm glad he got it, though. A hell of a performance. Because he got the 10-8 perfect round before the knockout, too. So
Right, absolutely right.
So, yeah, first bonus.
I think that fight was one of my favorite fights of the night as far as fight was fun to watch. Obviously wasn't close in odds, so I don't care about that. But the after effect of the fight was one of my favorite things. I was like, oh yeah, this is good for the lightweight division. You know what I mean? Like I keep saying, man, overarching theme. A lot of these fights that weren't impactful. This one felt a little more impactful, so I enjoyed this one.
Exactly, especially
honestly. I mean, that's a good transition, I think, to keep it pushing because the next fight is number 12 versus number 11 in the women's 135-pound division. What was Penny Kianzad at? She was a minus 450?
I think so. You know what? That's the one I missed. We both missed. Is that the only one we both missed?
Yeah.
That's the only money line on the whole card I don't have written down.
I have it right here.
Landsberg was plus 350.
It was minus 470. That's what it closed at.
So I think that's a really I thought that was a really big money line for Penny Kianzad because we've seen Penny Kianzad too. We've seen her look great, and then we've also seen her look extremely beatable.
Yeah. Let's dive into this fight because I have very mixed emotions about this fight. Very, very, very mixed emotions.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. Yeah, we got 12 versus 11 here. I do love Lena Landsberg's nickname, Elbow Queen. And
and one of the goddamn did she fucking show it.
Right? That was fucking sick. But round one, I thought it was Kianzad. She got that takedown. She took the back. Pretty dope ground and pound. I don't really see how you score it any other way. I mean, you see it the same way?
Absolutely. I thought it was easy round one to Penny Kianzad here. And I thought that she was going to just start dominating this fight, to be quite honest with you, right? I also thought it was funny that her fighter picture has her hair down and curled and fluffed out, whereas obviously she's going to tie it up to fight. So why would let's not take her fighter pictures like that though, huh? Because that's not what you look like. Anyway, side note.
It looked nice,
I guess I don't hate it for Sean O'Malley, so I'm being a hater. But anyway, because I do like when Sean O'Malley has his hair out for his pictures. I thought round two was really a big time snoozer until for the first 3 minutes of that round, man. I was just getting put to sleep by that round.
Yeah.
I mean, then it started to pop off. Don't get me wrong. Then the Kianzad gets the cut over Landsberg's eye. Doctor gets called in to see if it's even good because she's bleeding so bad. Which,
I thought that was ridiculous. That
was. I was just about to say, which was kind of ridiculous. But then Landsberg rocks Kianzad back at the end of the round two with the huge elbow and crushes her nose.
Puts her down, threw her elbow it wasn't a clinch. They were standing at boxing range, and she threw an elbow like a punch, and it landed.
And Loki crushed her nose on it to where it impacted the way the Kianzad even fought round 3, I felt like, with the way she was like moving and trying to avoid the strikes to her face.
That elbow was huge, and to me,
it won the round for
round.
me. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Because it was pretty even.
I used the verbiage "stole the round." I had it it was a snoozer, but I had Kianzad winning the snooze. That stole the round.
Yeah, for me, it was more so that, like, Kianzad was ahead, but, like, if there was anyone that was going to land one big strike that was, like, if you got a knockdown at any point in that round, I probably would have scored the round for you. Because it was...
And that's exactly what happened here.
Right, exactly. Like, a super impactful strike, I definitely had to score it for Landsberg. Because, like I said, it was snoozy at the start, with Kianzad just kind of peppering the outside and picking her points. So... all that taken into account, we both have it 19-19 after 2. So we're going into like a big time third round. Landsberg's bleeding from her eye at this point pretty badly, actually. Kianzad's doing a good job to keep punching on that cut, I feel like, and kind of like keep the blood coming out of it. But Kianzad's also bleeding from her nose with like a huge, like, you can see like break and cut over her nose. Like, her nose was done, bro.
That elbow was gnarly.
Yeah. But I thought Kianzad did I thought round 3, if the fight's going to come down to 5 minutes, Kianzad was masterful in the last 5. And Landsberg was a little tired.
Yeah, no, Kianzad probably looked in round 3. That's probably what Vegas thought this fight was going to look like, given the money line. You know what I mean? Because it was masterful, and it was kind of a clash in styles because Kianzad likes to kind of strike from the outside. Landsberg likes to get in the clinch
and put up on the cage and try and use pressure to rock you in and out.
So whenever Kianzad was able to keep it out in distance and just kind of let the hands go, it did look great. I think we're both going the same way on this. All 3 judges saw it this way. We saw it this way. 29-28 Kianzad, but in a way closer fight. Well, see, that's what's weird about this fight. It kind of gets remembered as being a real close fight, but like that one elbow is what made it close. Like if you remove
I would say that's fair. Like I think Landsberg fought okay for the fight, but I wouldn't have scored any round for it had she not landed like literally a bone-crushing elbow.
Yeah, that one strike was but hey, that's the sport, right? One strike.
That is the thing. I mean, that's why we love fighting, right? Because in football, when you're down 20, you can't score once and win.
Exactly. In fighting, you can. And Landsberg got about as close to doing that as you really can, man. That elbow is gorgeous, but especially when you're nicknamed the Elbow Queen. But too little, not even too little too late. There's not enough. Close but no cigar. As far as what's next for Landsberg.
Penny Kianzad Aspen Ladd. I already got it picked.
Cool. As much as that makes sense, that sounds like a fight that I don't want to watch. But
hell no, no one wants to watch it. And that's why we need to get both of them out. So one of them has to lose and they fight each other.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, man, and as far as Kianzad goes, man, I just kind of just lukewarm, right? Like, I'm not going to say anything too negative. She looked pretty good, besides the one strike. I mean, she performed really well. She was a big favorite. This gets her close to the top 10, but yeah, I'm just not like, as far as they say, seeing it, as far as like some, but it's also, man, the top end of the bantamweight division has some older fighters. It also has some killers, obviously, but I guess it just depends on matchups for Kianzad, in my opinion. I think there's some girls she can beat, but also plenty she can't. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I totally know what you mean, man. Like, I think the back end of 135 is in a terrible spot currently, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Not the deepest.
The co-main event of the prelims, I guess I should say it, is a ranked fight, and then there's not any other ranked fights on the main card except for the final fight, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think so. And then after watching that fight, it's not like in retrospect we think it should have been higher. Like that fight was kind of, not the greatest to watch. So, yeah, no, I feel you. And we can keep it pushing to this featured prelim, man, because
I enjoyed the hell out of this fight. Also,
right, because we had essentially two light heavyweights that were fighting at heavyweight.
Well, I think Devin Clark wants to go to heavyweight, and I can see it for him. Makes sense.
I can't. He weighed in at 223.
Okay, but
yeah,
but if he puts on 20 pounds in a year, 18 months. Let's give him 18 months to put on 20 pounds. He could be pretty serious because his frame is big. I think he's 6'4". I think his reach is really long.
He's 6 foot. That's what also
Oh,
shocked me.
William Knight is just tiny. That's right. William
Yeah,
Knight's like
bro.
what,
Like,
5'9"?
I wrote this down for this specific reason because I wanted to talk about Clark at heavyweight. He's 6 foot 223.
Okay,
Like,
but what if DC? I mean, DC was just fat. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, but he did Clark. I don't know. I hate it. I hate it. I'm not like I don't think it's going to work. I don't think this like ends well.
he seems to have the power though.
Yeah, but exactly like what good? All right. Yeah, is there fights he could win at heavyweight? I'm just saying we just did this with Chris Dawkins.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Devin Clark is like thinking that's a way easier
He's
life to
definitely
live.
more. He's definitely way more athletic than Chris Dawkins. But I'm just saying, like the I think the 230-pound heavyweight days are like I don't know, man. Like I just or
I
even
would, I wouldn't be
matchup-wise,
mad if
any
the UFC
grappler at all. Like
if
give
the
him Ty
UFC
Burra,
if the UFC made a 225 division, I wouldn't be mad.
cruiserweight type of situation.
Yeah,
Okay,
like I think
no,
that'd be so good for some of these guys like Devin Clark or the smaller heavyweights that could cut that.
no, I feel you. Yeah, but that's what it could have been with
Bozer.
Clark.
Think about
Yeah,
like Bozer, Gane, Clark. Like that's a fun, and some of the 205s that would come up. That would be a
would come
fun.
up.
That'd be a fun division.
Probably hell the two past champs at 205. You'd probably get
Agreed. John Jones would be the
Glover.
best at that division. It would be
Yeah, you can
gross.
get Glover, you can get Polish Power. You know what I mean? Yeah, but
Blahovic.
but Blahovic, yeah, it was
Probably
escaping
Costa.
me.
Probably Costa by the end of his career.
Yeah, right. Or right now. We got and then William Knight comes in at 5'10", 251. So and both of these
Which
guys are
and
fighting at
also
light
William Knight.
heavyweight.
William Knight needs to go be a power lifter, bro. He's not a fighter anymore. He's too dedicated to weightlifting and not fighting.
Yeah. Well, I talked the last time we had William Knight. We talked about William Knight on the podcast. I talked about his whole Instagram. If you looked at his Instagram, you wouldn't know he was a fighter. He literally doesn't like post fight content, which is
Did
just
you
coming
hear?
from a
Did you
guy
hear
who's
them?
the whole. Oh, go ahead.
Did you hear them talking about his weightlifting measurements during the fight?
Yeah, what? It was something
He,
crazy like
he
bench 500 pounds.
benches 490 and he squats like 685.
Yeah, and just like that's not even making you a better fighter. It's like,
That's what
why are
I'm
you doing it?
saying. It's
Yeah.
muscling you down. It's actually making you a worse fighter.
It,
Now,
see, it just,
granted, when we dive into the X's and O's and he holds a front headlock for 4 minutes, I don't know.
the
Maybe
strength
that's some.
translates. It kind of is functional strength too. It's not all gym strength. Like he is a very, very strong man. Like just period. You know, because like we've seen guys that look muscular but get out wrestled by like flabby guys or guys that like the strength translates. I guess is like the nicest thing I can say about it.
He's literally a scary looking human. Like I don't understand how
Yeah,
he's
and
251, 5'10.
he's a badass dude, right? Like he's I just like as far as skill set and like dedication to the craft is like my I guess where my question marks come in. You know what I mean? And then yeah, as far as Devin Clark, I think this was like I don't know. This whole fight was just kind of like a weird freak show kind of fight for me, like an experiment type. Like I said, we got the 6'2", 223 heavyweight versus the 5'10", 251 heavyweight. Like, what do you make of that? Like, I don't know. I don't. It's just was weird for me.
Well, here's what I make of it: is round one was the fight being very very close together, right?
Yeah.
At this tight range, right? And William Knight winning that because that's exactly where the only place he could really succeed from, right?
Yes.
And so I scored the first round 10-9 to William Knight.
As
Now, the second round, I think, is a reversal of fortune, right? Where we start to see the fight be at more space. And then when Devin Clark takes his shots and gets takedowns, they're at his leisure and the way he wants them rather than like getting them in a scramble, right? Granted, William Knight is so crazy strong, he can't be held down.
yeah.
So he's always back up. But I still score round two for Devin Clark. And we start to see his power kind of land on William Knight as well.
Yes, I see it the exact same way. I also scored round two to Clark. He got the takedown, the ground and pound. Just like William Knight just like doesn't even use like mixed martial arts techniques, right? Like Devin Clark was at least like doing the sport, right? You know what I mean? Like when even when William Knight does like is do like winning, it's just in like a way that's like void of technique. Like in round one, he won the whole round just because of the front headlock. that he was trying to pass off as a guillotine attempt, but like he was just holding his head. And then he did have the big knee. I don't know. Devin Clark's skills are so much better, but just physically it was such a weird matchup that it kind of made it competitive in a weird way.
Yeah, that's almost exactly how I see the fight at that point, right? And then we get to round 3. And I think William Knight might have started to get gassed out, man. I really do. I think he's so muscle bound. I think he's so muscle bound that he cannot fight 15 minutes. He cannot.
Yeah.
There is no way that human can fight 15 minutes.
Yeah, which is why we think it's dumb that he gains 30 pounds of muscle between each fight.
So, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying is that, his physique is his downfall if he cannot win within 7.5 minutes, essentially. Because from that point in the fight, you saw Devin Clark really, just taking over at a different level, starting to land big shots. And then, he hit him with, I think, a 1-2-3 that just put William Knight out.
Well, it was
2 big shots and then 2 or 3 more. It was
an elbow followed by a left hook, which that's a
elbow left hook. That's what
to even throw. Who throws that? That's fucking sick. That was that was dope as fuck.
Well, think about it too, because if you throw with momentum, you're actually setting your hook while you hit the elbow because you're coming back through.
It was sick, and they both landed clean as fuck. And then he follows that up with a 1-2-3.
That's what it was.
And then there was some ground and pound.
Because Knight sinks on the fence and is sitting still looking up, and Clark just starts piecing him out.
It was a dope finish. It was high end finish, and that's why I don't want to see Clark go to heavyweight because he's just gonna get out physical. His skill set is fucking dope. I respect it. He's a great athlete. He has great cardio. There's so many nice things that I can say about Devin Clark. One of the things that I can't say about him, hey, that's a really big guy. You know what I'm saying?
But I also feel like he's been at the back end of 205 and he couldn't crack that division. He just couldn't get past 10, right? And so now he wants to see because heavyweight's pretty damn thin, man. When you really look at it,
heavyweight's pretty thin too, though.
You're talking about Marcin Tybura, Pavlovich, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Augusto Sakai, Walt Harris, Ivanov.
Maybe with the exception of Walt Harris, I think those guys 30-27, Clark might just land on him. Clark is not going to be able to get those guys off of him.
Here's what else I would say, to be fair to that point, I guess, for your point, is there's still guys out there like Romanov that are not ranked in heavyweight. He's fighting this next week. Yeah. And so I'm not thinking Devin Clark has anything to say to Romanov any day of the week.
Bro, what about Budai? Budai's massive.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Come on.
Budai Devin Clark would be fun.
Either would be or it wouldn't be. Because if Budai wants to just put him against that cage and keep him there for 15 minutes, just like he did Barnett, I don't see what – I mean, Clark's going to be a lot harder to get a hold of and have way better footwork and movement, obviously. But I'm just saying, I think if Budai gets a hold of – I don't know, man. I don't want to see it. We obviously disagree here. That's fine, and that's awesome. I actually, like I said, makes for a better podcast when we do disagree. We show – both sides of the coin. But
I just want to see Devin Clark represent himself and what he wants to do. And if that ends up bad for him, that's my entertainment, which is a sick way to look at it. But, hey, it's fighting. And I'm down to see him go out there and put it on the line, even being undersized and obviously having these deficits that he cannot overcome in the fight.
Show me, Devin Clark Volkov.
I don't want to show that to you. Real bad. Looks real bad.
Okay, so you're saying he can't get through the back end of light heavyweight, and I'm saying the same is true at heavyweight, but just in grosser fashion.
But I'm down for the show.
For him at light heavyweight. I feel you. Now, you're having a little fun now. I feel you, but but I think there's matchups at light heavyweight where he finds success.
All right, if I want to say what's best for Devin Clark, it's go be a light heavyweight. That makes no sense to be a heavyweight. That's a dumb thing to do. You can easily cut 18 pounds if you're walking around at 223. That's not even hard. All your points are valid and correct. But I'm just saying for the fun of it, he has the power to go to heavyweight and could knock a guy out up there.
And to your credit, he has tried and failed at 205, and you got to switch it up. I think you went the wrong way. Now, granted, nobody wants to cut more weight, but I'm saying 6 foot.
Yeah, 6 foot 185.
He wouldn't even be
right.
a big 185er.
That sounds about right. You know what I'm saying? Whitaker's 6 foot. Vittori's bigger.
Whitaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think he went the wrong way, and like I don't know, man. Like I'm all down for guys switching. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke and you don't fix it, then you're dumb. So like I feel him for like to your point, trying something different. I think he went the wrong way. Hey, we can keep it pushing. Clark gets the win. It was the TKO was gorgeous, but like and this was a weird thing, right? So it's like when McGregor beats up a 55er, but they both weigh in at 70 pounds, it doesn't really let us know how he fares against 70 pounders. Devin Clark beating up William Knight at heavyweight doesn't really let me know how you perform against the heavyweight because he didn't fight a heavyweight. I mean, he did. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's weird. Like, what do you take from it? How does it translate? I think it really doesn't.
True. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. It's got to play
Time
out.
will tell. And we'll wrap up this segment of the Beefy Boys Breakdown